Well, hi, this is Lesson 1, Activity 2, Models in Medicine. Today we're going to look at a symptom called aniridia, which is a visual problem that organisms with eyes, obviously, endure. We're also going to use this as a model to see how we can learn about human health from other organisms. So let's see where this takes us today. Well, in Lesson 1, Activity 1, that was due today, we reviewed Mendel's laws, and there were two laws that we looked at. We looked at 4 different types of mutations that can occur, genetic mutations. We looked at natural selection versus adaptation, and we looked at evolution versus common ancestry. And we're going to begin applying these topics as we move forward in our study of medicine and evolution. Well, some people, I looked at the answers for Activity 1, outbreak, and some students thought about MRSA and how bacteria becomes resistant to antibiotics. A few students answered the question that bacteria developed a response to the antibiotic and therefore were able to survive and reproduce. This is a common misconception among students. The problem with that is that if you don't have a resistance already, the antibiotic is going to kill you. So bacteria usually have a gene that makes them already resistant to antibiotics, and therefore the bacteria that do in fact have that genetic modification or mutation, we might call it, survive and allows them to reproduce. And then they wind up in an environment where most of the bacteria are having killed by the antibiotic, and only the ones with a gene that allows them to survive will reproduce. So there are plenty of nutrients for them to use. A couple of vocabulary words we just want to review: phenotype and genotype. Phenotype is the physical appearance of an organism's structure. And for a long time, scientists used that to classify organisms and to try and find out how related or how closely related organisms were. So if organisms had the same hand structure, the thought was that they were probably fairly closely related. Well, now we use a different kind of system to help us be more accurate, and that's called genotype. Genotypes are the genetic makeup of an organism that causes the physical appearance and structure in an organism. And here we can be a lot more accurate by looking at the genes that actually make up the structure. Well, in this activity, we're going to look at a genetic syndrome called aniridia. And you'll read about that and answer a couple of questions about it. We're going to look at the actual genetic sequences in organisms that cause aniridia. We're going to ask you to look at some genetic sequences and try and differentiate the genes. And then we're going to compare those genes across 4 different species. And at the end, we're then going to look at evolutionary trees in trying to apply what we're doing today. Well, there isn't a puzzle for extra credit in this activity. This PowerPoint is just way too short. So what I need you to do is take a look at the questions first that you're going to be asked to answer. I think there are 7 or 8 of them, and they're on a separate sheet. And you're going to need to answer the questions on that Word document, that separate sheet. It's a Word document, and it makes it very easy to answer the questions, send them back to me. You can't answer the questions right in the reading material because that's an optical scan, and there's no way to apply answers to the questions there. And at the end, just take a look and assess kind of what you learned in this activity. The next activity is going to be a little bit more lengthy as we start actually looking at the genes and seeing exactly what their structure is and how they work. Well, good luck, have a great weekend, and let's make this activity due on next Wednesday. Thanks very much.